Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. This is the third part of our main topic, study skills. Under the study skills, we focused on reading skills, and in part one, I discussed the reading strategies or the reading techniques. These were two, skimming and scanning. These are basically the quick reading techniques which were discussed in that part. Part two was about the types of the two broad types of reading skills, that is extensive reading and intensive reading, and also speed reading. The topic of speed reading was discussed, in which the major tip which was given to you people was chunking, that how the group of taking the group of words together and reading them quickly is going to help you a lot in your academic context also, and in your daily life too. Uh, so in this part 3, we are going to look at another important study skills, which is summary writing. Before we go into the detail, let's look at the verb summarize. Summary is a noun, but when we use it as a verb, it has two variants or two spellings. If you can see that summarize with Z and summarize with S. So I have highlighted, or I have written it in red color. So both these spellings are correct. British English has more common with S, but overall we see that both are used in English language. American English does not use S; it uses Z, whereas the British English uses both of these. So it means that the pronunciation is the same, that is summarize, whereas the spellings are two, which you can use as it is up to you. So as a verb, it will have two spellings when we write it. Right. Now, what is summary or what is summarizing? That it is basically giving a short statement of the important points. Now, the red colors, all the red colors throughout this presentation, you have to focus on these, because these are basically the key points, the key words, the key expressions that you must focus your attention to. Uh, this summarizing, basically it allows you to restate, retell, rewrite the key information, which is short and in order. So it is important to note that it has to be in order. It should not be disorderly, or it should not have haphazard sequence. It should be in the order of the original reading material which you are summarizing. Yes, it is. I already told you, one of the important study skills. And it is a shortened version of a passage. And look at this important group of words, that is one's own words. You're not supposed to copy and paste the words of the writer. It has to be your own understanding of the script, of the text, of the reading material, and then you have to shorten it, keeping in mind the same sequence, the same material. The organization has to be accordingly. If we talk about the question that the summary addresses, it actually talks about what. What means that what the writer says, not how the writer says, not when the writer says, not why the writer says. You're not supposed to investigate it to that level. It's only the basic question that you have to address, and that is what. So this is what summary addresses, or this is what summary talks about. It talks about what the writer, the passage, or the text says. So somehow it is the test of your memory, but you have to write it in your own words, and all the important points have to be written. Yes, summary always covers the essential points of the original passage. Essential. Now, this word means the key points, important points, necessary points, which actually, without them, the passage does not mean anything. So, in the coming passage, in the coming slides, I'm going to tell you what are those essential points with the help of examples. Yes, you have to remember one thing, and this is how the crux of all that I have put on this slide, that a summary provides readers with an overview of the main points, which is longer. Anything which is longer, the summary provides an overview, uh, a main idea of the points that are given in that longer text. So, this is what it means. We come across many examples of summary, summing up of the things around us in different way. How? I can give you examples. News headlines, as you can see that when even if you listen to news or you read news, the headlines are basically the summary of the entire news, because it talks about the important point. You see, then as you see that there are somewhere the brief descriptions of films or television shows. It is very common that if you miss an episode of your favorite drama, whatever your favorite drama is, if you miss that episode, and when you go to college and talk to your friend and ask her that if she could tell you the the summary of what happened in that episode, and then your friend is going to tell you all the important developments in that episode. She will not tell you each and every word or the dialogue or the irrelevant details. She will come to the point, will tell you all those points due to which the drama took a different turn, and due to which you will be now excited to watch the next episode. You see, so this is how the summary we come across that. It is applicable when you have not read any story and your friend has read that book. So what you do, you ask her, or she asks you, if she has not read it, that if you could tell her the points or the important things from the book, then what you are going to do is, or what she is going to do is, it will be the summary, where all the important things will be told or mentioned to that girl or to you. See, so it means that we come across summary in one way or the other. Yes, when we go and buy a book, we want to buy a book and we want to get an idea about the content or the story of that book or whatever developments are there. So we turn the book over, and where there we see that there is the back title, which we call blurb, blurb. So that blurb usually has a kind of a summary, or you can say the main points of the whole book or the story that is given. Though technically that is called a review, but we are looking at the shrinking or the compressing of the entire story. So there we find that summary is helpful for you people to make a decision whether to buy that book or not. We have already done resume, and there I told you that resume is the summary of your CV. So resume talks about whatever the detail CV talks about. See, so resume is also one of the types of, or one of this one of the types of summary, because it summarizes whatever the detail you actually give in your CV. So resume is that summary. And yes, this is even more relatable to you people, because your textbooks, if you keep in mind, because I teach English, so if you keep in mind the course book of your first year or second year English, and there after the lesson ends, the poem or a story or an essay, whatever that is, if your lesson ends, and at the end of the lessons there are questions related to the text which talk about that, what do you understand, what is the development in the story, or if the question is about um, uh, how many times did the seagull take a flight, or there can be a question about sum up the idea given by the writer in the story, whatever. So such kind of questions which take the test of your memory and ask you to write in your own words whatever is given in the story or in the essay or in the poem. It is called summary. Summary is, of course, part of comprehension. Comprehension is the topic which I will cover towards very end, because comprehension basically is the collection of all these techniques, all these strategies, all these types, because the basic purpose, don't forget, the ultimate goal of all reading is comprehension. So I have kept comprehension in the last part, where you will require all these skills, all these reading skills within study skills, where you will summarize some of the things, somewhere you will do skimming, somewhere you will do scanning, somewhere you will do intensive reading. Most of the times academic reading is intensive reading. Somewhere you will be doing this speed reading also. So some summary, and then of course coming that presentation will be on Pressy. So all these is equal to comprehension, you see. So it means that I'm going to devote much of my time on comprehension when it is going to be the last part of our this topic, study skills, right? So there are a few guidelines I'm going to put over here just for you to understand that how one can summarize a passage. It can be a passage or it can be any reading material. Passage because most of the times you deal with passages or paragraphs. That's why I have put this term. So these are different steps or the guidelines that you have to follow. That first you have to read the entire passage. Kindly focus on the red color. The red color is basically the key points or the key words or the key expressions here. So read the passage, and while reading the passage, what you have to do is that you have to make a note of keywords, main points, and topic sentences. Remember, the academic reading is never without noting down the things with you. Either you circle those points or you underline them, whatever, but you have to make a note of some keywords or main points or topic sentences. It's kind of a skimming like exercise or activity that you would do. This will help you in keeping or preparing the points or the outline with you. Naturally, the third step is going to be try to form a brief outline of the passage. So whatever you note down, whatever that is, you are actually preparing an outline, because outline basically is the summary of the entire reading text. And now you keep that original text aside and now focus on this outline. Outline is basically now you have to convert it into another paragraph, which will be the shortened paragraph, the shortened version of the original text, in which all the relevant and important details would be there. See? So then important that you should know, already I have mentioned that you have to use your own words, like you have to keep it written with capital letters, own words. You're not supposed to copy and paste the words of the writer. Yes, idea will be of the writer, but words will be your own, strictly speaking. Summary has to have, and of course when I'm going to discuss Pressy, these are those two study skills in which we don't have to use the words of the writer at all. You see, we have to use our own words, but the idea has to be of the writer. You're not supposed to change the idea or change the sequence, whatever the writer gives. And there is no need to use the technical language or a difficult or a complex sentences. Here you have to be very simple because the purpose is to make the idea understood by the person who is going to look at it for the first time. Your this shortened passage or shortened paragraph has to be so complete that the person who has not read the original paragraph would understand whatever the original paragraph already tells without even looking at the original paragraph. So, this paragraph, this shortened paragraph, has to work as the complete document in itself for the others to understand. Yes, the summary must be objective. It should not have I, it should not have you, it has to be in the third person because this is the writer's point of view that you are talking about. So, this I, you, we, they are not going to be used over here. It's not your point of view. The same goes for Cressy also. So, there too, we don't have to be subjective, it is objective writing. I'll continue with the guidelines and then I'll take you to some examples. So, when I say that it is going to be the shortened version, what actually we delete from there? What actually we remove from that original passage? We remove the examples or illustrations and quotations. These are not required. We are not supposed to give the supporting details. We are going to fix ourselves to the main points. If we have the detail of those main points, we are going to skip it. And then we are going to see from where the new point comes within that passage or the reading text. So our focus has to be on every new thing which adds something substantial to the reading passage, right? Another thing that can make it shorten it is that you have to replace the long phrases or sentences with shorter and simpler phrases or sentences. This also is going to reduce the length of the summary, the original passage into a summarized passage. So this is what you have to do. This you have to keep in mind, this bullet number 3, in the sense that I have noticed that students think that they are the great writers and they always think as if whatever they write is their final draft. No, even the great writers of their times, they write many times before the final version of their writing. So, kindly keep in mind, make a rough draft first. In any case, you have, of course, when you think, rethink, things keep on coming to you, then you arrange your ideas. So, in any case, you have to write a rough draft. Then you have to do the editing means then you are going to make changes in it. Editing means that sometimes you add the things, that sometimes you remove the things, so you edit your this shortened version, and finally you adjust its length accordingly. So do not try to be so overconfident that you write everything first time and consider it as a final draft. No, there's a big no. Right. Yes, follow the original organization of the passage or text, as I mentioned somewhere in the previous slide too, that uh, there has to be a sequence that original paragraph maintains. You don't have to disturb that sequence. If, for example, the paragraph is about it is about the steps of taking admission at the university or abroad, a university abroad, then if you are summarizing that original paragraph, you don't have to skip this sequence because it is going to disturb the whole flow that the original paragraph has. So you have to keep the organization, the way the things have been arranged in the original paragraph, it has to be the same. You just have to shorten the paragraph into your own words. Idea, steps, thought, it has to be the same. Well, as always, it is important for everything that you write that you have to check for spelling, grammar, and punctuation mistakes. Punctuation is that area which I will sometime I will separately talk about, which is most of the times taken very non-seriously. Specifically, I have noticed that other than question mark, exclamation mark, or full stop, we feel as if the rest of the punctuation marks are just for entertainment. I mean, they are optional. Either you use them wherever you use them. It's not really important. This is not the case. Every punctuation mark is like a gesture of a writer. A writer cannot come out of the text and do the gestures. His gestures, his facial expressions or gestures are basically those punctuation marks. So keep that in your mind, because wrong use of punctuation mark can give a wrong sense. You see? So I'm not going to go into the detail at the moment because that is not my today's topic. And of course, one thing that you have to remember about the length, that there is no specific length, there is no formula. I can't say that you should write these many words. In Prezi, we do have a formula, we do have the word length, but here in summary, we don't have any specific or mathematical or a calculated length. It depends upon how many essential points are there, how many important points are there, and if all of them are conveyed in the brief possible manner, then it means that you have shortened it to the required length. So there is no formula, no word count, no word length for summary, how much summary, how long a summary should be. I'm sorry for not a very good diagram, but this I found very suitable, and again, I'm sorry if you can't read it properly. Let me read it for you. So if you can see that this is a filter, uh, which is written over here. So the chemistry people or the science people or all the science people, they know what is a filter. They use it in their labs. So if this, the original passage, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pink colored things, this is what the original passage is. It has the main idea, it has the supporting details, it has the comparisons, it has the lists given, it has the examples, because these are basically the details within supporting details. It has lists, it has examples. Now for instance, these 5 things are what your original passage has. When you filter it, filter means what the term that I will use it, when you summarize it, when you shorten it, what will you do? You are only going to keep the main idea and the relevant details. Relevant details means only those main point, those assisting points which are going to go along with the main idea. That's it. No lists, no examples, no comparisons. So from 5 things you have reduced it to 2. So that is sufficient. So this is where the extended passage, it has these many things. When you filter or shorten it, summarize it, it is reduced to the summary of the extended passage, which is 2 out of those 5 things. It's just to give it a, it is a in the quantifying terms. I'm giving it an idea to you that how you can skip those things in order to shorten the original passage. Uh-oh, what is that? Do you remember this nursery rhyme? Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating some curds and whey. Whey means that liquid which is within this curd. Mm. Along came a spider who sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. Now, this is an example that I have just taken, just to give you an idea, because nursery rhymes everybody almost is familiar with. Now, if I ask you to summarize it, can you do that? You know, summary can be of anything. It can be of nursery rhyme, it can be of a novel, of a drama, uh, of anything that is around us. The summary can be of all these things. So I have taken the example of a nursery rhyme. So what happens over here? What are the main points which are given over here? Can you guess? Little Miss Muffet. So we see that the name of the person is important. Miss Muffet. We should know that this is the story or some incident happened with Miss Muffet. Sat on a tuffet eating some curds and whey. Let's see if it is important. If it is important to mention what she is eating, or it is important to mention that she is eating. What is important? Yes, that she is eating. So eating is more important than what she is eating. See? So Miss Muffet, she's eating something. Along came a spider. Now you see there is now the twist. This is again an important point. Twist is that a spider comes who sat down beside her. This is not important. Importance is arrival of spider, coming of spider, and then the reaction of Miss Muffet. And reaction is frightened Miss Muffet away. Now look at the important points. Miss Muffet eating something, coming of spider, and Miss Muffet, she gets frightened. Now what we excluded from here is what she is eating, where does the spider sit, that's it. See, these two things are extra. Now what will be the shortened version? Oh, they have shortened it even more. A spider scared away a girl. But you can write it in such a way as well that Miss Muffet was eating something when a spider came and she got frightened. Even that is fine. That is also. So summary does not have only one fixed formula or fixed words. It's just like you should convey all the important things without disturbing the idea of the writer. So a spider scared away a girl, that is fine. You can also write it in such a way that Miss Muffet was eating something when the spider came and scared her away. Acha, look at the thing that we have not used the same words. Like we could have used frightened, but instead we used a synonym of frightened, so that it should not be repeated whatever the writer has written in terms of the words, right? So you can even do it in a better way. I give you one more example of another nursery rhyme. Again, a very famous one, that Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got and home did trot as fast as he could caper, and went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. To be very honest, I have never read the rest of the next stanza. I always thought that the poem would finish over here in the first stanza. Anyway, now can you now work it out? What are the important points over here? Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. So what is the important point? They go for some task. Meanwhile, Jack falls, gets hurt, and is back home, and he goes to his bed after treating himself. So these are the details. We are not concerned that they were taking the pail of water and they broke his crown, and how Jill comes after that, she tumbles after, and we are not interested that he trots back. Then we are not interested that he treats his head with vinegar and brown paper. No, we are interested what happened in the minimum possible words, keeping in mind the same idea, the main thought. Okay. And what I have reduced it to, you can do it even better. Okay. See? So here, not even the mention of Jack. It's a boy. But I would prefer if you write Jack, even then it is fine. A boy fell, hurt his head, and bandaged it. The whole story clear. There is no need to get into the too much detail of the things, that how, in what manner they went up and how they came down and what ingredients they had for their treatment or so. No, not at all. So these were just quick two examples of a very short text, how I shortened it further. Now it is going to be another passage, which it is in the form of the passage this time, and you will see all the pink colors. If you read this read this paragraph, you will find out that it has many such points which are required to be written. So the red color towards the end, where the two lines towards the end, this is the shortened version of this whole paragraph. Again, there is no word length, there is no word count, there is no specific length. It's just based on the important points mentioned in the passage. I have chosen this passage because you are from zoology department. So I thought that you would relate with it and it will be easier for you to understand the idea given over here. So let's quickly read it and try to figure out why I shortened it to these two lines. Now the paragraph starts. There are many types of lethal venom, lethal, fatal venom, poison in the animal kingdom, but perhaps no stranger carrier than the platypus. Kindly don't forget that the main idea is usually in the initial lines. I thought that the initial idea is in these two lines, but the next line makes me even more focused on the main idea or the controlling idea. Now, what is that? The platypus is one of few venomous mammals. Now, this gives me even more controlling, specific idea, which the previous two lines only talk about. This is focused. This is to the point. So now I know the name of the animal also, and I know its quality as well, that it is the most venomous, and also the species that it is a mammal. So I think so this is the most focused and the most required, or the one that area or that idea which I had to focus my attention on. So the platypus is one of the few venomous mammals. So you see, I noted down this with me. I kept it with me. And then the previous two lines, they got blurred. I mean, I did not look at them again. Males carry a venom cocktail in their ankle spurs that paralyzes victims with excruciating pain. See, this is the description of that venom, that how deadly it is. See, so it is the continuation of the same idea which I don't require. So again, these two lines will also get faded from my eyes. I won't give them attention. Now look at the next ones. Stranger still, a key word you will see. Strange will be repeated many times. So I have taken it as that adjective which I have to use. Stranger still, the platypus is the only mammal that uses electro reception. Now, this is a scientific term which in itself is quite explanatory. And rest of the lines are going to give you the detail or the supporting detail of this main point. Once again, what is that? What this means is that the platypus uses its bill to sense the electricity produced by the muscular movements of its prey. Look, this is just the explanation of this line, that it is the only mammal that uses electroreception. Now, this is the explanation of that. We are not interested. For summary, we are not interested in that. See, the platypus neither sees nor hears nor smells its prey while hunting, but rather pursues it through electroreception. Repetition of the same idea. No need to take into account. So so far, these two sentences are of our concern for summary writing. Let's get to, we already know that conclusion is towards the end. So we are going to look at the wrapping up idea, which is going to wrap up or the which would conclude the entire paragraph, the thought of the entire paragraph. So let's see, is it like that? Perhaps most odd. Again, look at the adjective like odd, strange, again stranger. So here we are talking about the strangeness of this mammal. You see? So we can't skip this keyword strange or odd, whatever we want to write. Perhaps most odd, the platypus is the only mammal that lays eggs rather than giving birth to live young. See, this is another development in the passage related to platypus strangeness. See, so I have to note it down because the last one again, it is going to give me something new. The platypus is an odd creature indeed. See how the thought has been summed up? Basically, the writer is talking about the oddity or strangeness or unusualness of this creature. Now we get the idea. How we are going to change it. The platypus is a strange mammal. We did not skip this word, okay? This idea, this adjective. Because it has venom. See how we are summing up now. It has venom. It has that poison. It uses its beak to sense prey. Now this is actually for electroreception. The word, we have another term, sense prey. And the third thing is it lays eggs. Now look at those pink colors and this red color. And see that you have not skipped anything. It is the same. Only that it has been shortened into your own words. Right? This is the concluding video. I had found out there are some tips which have been given in this. Kindly focus on these, listen to this, and you will find out very handy things from here. So I play it now.
So we summarize all the time in our daily lives. You may summarize something interesting that you read in the news, or you may summarize a movie plot line for a friend, or a lesson for a classmate who has been sick and missed the class. And at some point in your academic career, you will have to write a summary, which is something that a lot of students find difficult. So I thought I would give you some tips on how to write an effective, successful summary. All right, now it's important to remember that a summary needs to be clear to someone who has not read, seen, or heard the original material. Now you have to include all of the essential information that a person would need to understand without reading the original source. So you have to include all of the main points. Now that's pretty much what a summary is. It's important also to remember that you shouldn't go beyond the main points. It's important that a summary be as brief as possible, so you don't want to get too specific with details like numbers, statistics, dates, figures, that kind of thing, unless it's absolutely necessary for the reader to understand it. Remember that a summary needs to be concise, brief. You don't want to be too descriptive. All right, so a good summary should follow and maintain good paragraph structure. So you want a topic sentence, and supporting sentences, and a concluding sentence. Now it's important for the topic sentence of a summary to identify itself as a summary. So you should include the title or the author or the speaker of the original material in your topic sentence. And then the supporting sentences are the main points. And it's important to try to follow the same order that the information is presented in the original material, again, if possible. There are times, perhaps, if you're summarizing a story, where the original story is not in chronological order, and it may make it easier for the reader to understand it if you change the order. But in general, you want to keep the same order. Now, also, in a summary, you should be paraphrasing. You should not be using direct quotes from the original material, and you should not be copying and pasting sentences right from the original. You should be using your own words. And last, it's important for a good summary to be objective, meaning you should not include your opinion in a summary. Remember that you're just reporting information from someone else's piece of writing or a lecture. So if you follow these tips, you'll be that much more likely to write a successful summary. So if you want practice with summaries, follow the link at the end of this video.
Thank you for watching and listening, and wait for my next part on study skills, that is part 4. So that will be on précis writing. See you next time with that part. Till then, Allah Hafiz.